Probably the most popular export format for printing a report later is PDF. This is the portable document format. It was originally created by Adobe and supported only by its Acrobat suite of tools, but it's now widely supported and available on all platforms and environments. The only interactive feature that PDFs support is a document map with links into the content of the document. Reporting Services has support for exporting to PDF files built into it, so it's not necessary to have any third-party software installed to generate the files. But you'll need something installed to view the exported reports. Like some of the soft page break renderers, the PDF will display only what is visible when you export the report, and you won't have any support for expanding other parts of the report. In fact, pretty much the only interactive features the PDF format supports are explicit hyperlinks and the document map that I mentioned. In the case of a document map, each group label renders as a bookmark, and you can access the list by opening the Bookmarks pane in the PDF Reader software. To show some of the features of the PDF export, I'm going to use this reseller cumulative sales report. So that's how it looks when I render it within Report Manager. And I'll go ahead and export it as a PDF. It's a pretty big report, so it takes a few moments. And then I can directly open it within my default PDF viewer. Okay. All right, so there's the report. So as you can see, you can scroll down through the report. It's discrete pages, as you can see by the gray at the top and bottom, because it's set up for printing. Okay, you can scroll down. You can see that there's 179 pages within the PDF. I can access the document map by clicking on this icon right there, and it's implemented as bookmarks. And so I can do things like delete a bookmark, I can save the current view as a bookmark, I can expand the current bookmark, and I can collapse all bookmarks. So if I do that, that's a little bit more representative of how the report originally displays. And then I can drill down into the Pacific and Australia and jump directly to the Specialty Bike Shop. And as you can see, I went directly to page 166. All right, so just like reports, the bookmarks within the PDF format make it real easy for users to navigate around long documents. And 179 pages, pretty long document. And the nice thing is that most of the readers that are available for PDF documents have this kind of support for bookmarks. So users are going to be able to use this feature for the most part. Now, an important thing to notice here is that the report has rendered into discrete pages. And they have hard page breaks. Again, it's being set up for printing. And so they need hard page breaks so that the printer knows where to kick out a new page. But the thing is that this particular report doesn't have any explicit page breaks defined. But because this is a hard page break renderer, the PDF renderer put them in the PDF file. Now, you can demonstrate to yourself that the renderer is putting in the page breaks, and more importantly, it differs from the HTML renderer by again noticing that this report has 179 pages. We can go to the last one, page 179. And if I go back over here to the report and go to the end, the HTML renderer only put in page breaks for 157 pages. Keep in mind that the HTML renderer is a soft page break renderer, so it's basically just putting in page breaks, soft page breaks, where it needs to display a page of data. If I go back to a full page, and again, a page is roughly defined as what you could see in a single screen on a monitor. I'm using a low resolution, so I have to scroll a little bit. Okay, but a PDF has much more explicit requirements because it's going to spew the data out to or the report out to a printer, so it needs to put them in different places. All right, now another important thing to understand about the PDF renderer. you need to make sure that you only use fonts in the report design that exist on the report server. Otherwise, the fonts aren't going to render correctly within the PDF, so that missing fonts are rendered with a square instead of a character. So you've probably seen that in PDFs that were created on some other machine, and then you're trying to look at them on your machine. So because you might have different fonts on your report development machine, it's important to test the PDF exporting after you deploy the report to the report server. A word to the wise is sufficient. The other hard page break renderer built into reporting services is for TIFF images, which stands for Tagged Image File Format. This was originally created by Aldus for desktop publishing and since has become a widely supported image format. The nice thing about TIFFs for reports is that even though it's an image, it supports multiple pages. The TIFF renderer doesn't support any interactive features at all, and the resulting image will show only the report data that's visible when you create the export file. I'm again going to use the reseller cumulative sales report in order to show you the TIFF export format. So I'll export it out to the TIFF file. It's a big report, so it takes a bit of time. And then open it directly, and Windows prompts me for which application I want to open it in. I'm going to select the Windows Photo Viewer. I'll maximize the size. And there you can see that I'm working with a single TIFF file. But it supports paging. So I can page through this entire report, page by page by page by page by page, through all 179 pages. Now it's kind of interesting. This is the same number of pages as a PDF, and so this renderer apparently uses the same logic for how it inserts the hard page breaks. And you can come in here to File Properties and take a look at the properties of this image file. Amongst other things, it lets you examine the image characteristics. So you can see that the dimension is 1056 by 816, different widths in pixels, what the DPI is, the bit depth, and so forth. So if you really want the report rendered in multiple pages but in an image format, TIFF actually is pretty serviceable. But no interactive features, and most image viewers are pretty limited in what they'll let you do with the different pages of the image. Now, something interesting about this is that you're, in fact, not limited to exporting TIFFs as the only image format. Although, that's really the only format that supports multiple pages. But using another format takes a bit of preparation if you want to do that. And it's really only practical, well, essentially for the first page of a report. But you're quite likely in your career of creating reports to create single-page reports, so you can use different image formats. But doing this takes a bit of preparation. And there are two ways to do it. You can modify the rs_reportserver.config file, or you can tweak the URL in Report Manager. So Reporting Services supports these several different image formats: bitmaps, EMF files, EMF+, GIFs, JPEGs, PNG files, or PNG files. So you have a lot of flexibility, but as I mentioned, it takes some work in order to be able to export to these formats. I'm going to take a look at both techniques for using different image formats for exported reports. The first one is to modify the rs_reportserver.config file. So the first thing I need to do is get to it. So it's located at C. This is for default installation of reporting services. C, Program Files, Microsoft SQL Server. I'm using SQL Server 2014, so I want SSRS 12, MS SQL Server, that one right there. That's Analysis Services. That's the database engine. Drill down into that. Reporting Services. Yes, let me in. And report server. And there's the file that I want, the rsreportserver.config file. So I'll go ahead and open this up. I'll open it up with Visual Studio 2013. Nice thing is that Visual Studio understands config files, so I can edit this as the XML that it is. And so what I need to do is insert some code within the configuration extensions render section. So I'm going to collapse some sections here. As you can see, it's a fairly long file. So I don't need DSN, I need configuration extensions, connection type and so forth, URL reservations, authentication, service, UI, and there's extensions. And then I need the render section, so I'll collapse it. And there's the render section. Okay, as you can see, there's already a number of extensions that are implemented. And surprise, surprise, these are the default extensions that Reporting Services supports. Now, there's actually more listed here because Reporting Services uses this section for more than just export formats. But you can see that there's XML, there's CSV, there's PDF, HTML4, which is the default that is used by the report manager, MHTML, it has some additional properties there, Excel, image, and Word. Okay, so the image one is actually the one that's going to use the default setting for TIFFs. But what this is doing is it's specifying the assembly, the namespace, where the renderer resides. So this is how Reporting Services gets the information, fires up the renderer in order to render the report in the format that's requested by the user. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to add the option to export to PNG image files, or portable network graphics. And to do that, I have to add some code. Now, to save you the pain of watching me type all this complex XML, I've got a text file here that contains the code that I want to insert. So I'm going to select that and copy it, and I'll come over here and I will insert it as the last item. Do Control V there. Okay, so the name of it's going to be image, parentheses, PNG. It specifies the image renderer right there. So it's really the same renderer as for the TIFF images. But then it has this configuration and specifically this device info that specifies the output format as PNG files. All right, so I'll hit Control S, save that page, and come back over to Report Manager. Now if I select the export button there, surprise, surprise, nothing's changed. This is a web browser, and so I need to refresh the page. Fortunately, I don't need to refresh Reporting Services, so that's definitely good. So it's going to go out, refresh, grab that reseller cumulative sales report once again, take a few moments. And there we have the report once again. I'll go to export this time and notice that I have a new entry, image PNG. All right, I'll go ahead and select that and open it up directly. And there's my image. But what's interesting here is that I don't have any way of paging because this is not a paged image format. All I have gotten is, in this case, part of the first page. There isn't intelligent page breaking going on here, and all of these options here are just the image viewer. And so this is just going to let me page around to different images into my pictures library. Okay, which is not helpful. So I'll go ahead and shut that down and come back to the report. And in fact, I'll see if I can open it up in a little bit more useful format. What I'm actually going to do is wait for it to be generated again. And I'm going to save the file once again to my junk folder there. And then I'll come back over here to the C drive and junk. There's the ping format. Oops, open it up in the same. Should be able to open it up with the Windows Photo Viewer. Okay, and the point I wanted to make here is that within the Photo Viewer, these buttons are now disabled because there's only a single page. Ping doesn't support multiple page images. So all I can get is the first page of the report. And notice that here you can actually see that it did produce a page and put in a page break and included that footer information. In this case, it includes the parameter values that I generated the report with. All right, so again, outputs only the first page of the report, and like I said, some reports are just a single page, so that'll work for it. But changing that rs-reportserver.config really isn't optimal for using other image formats that don't support multiple pages. And you can really see why Microsoft selected TIFF as the only image format that's available by default. Okay, so that's one way of changing the image format. You can also change it using a URL. So this is a fairly complex URL, so I didn't want to type it out, but notice that I have localhost and report server. Actually, let me go back over to Report Manager here and take a look at the form of the URL. In fact, what I'm going to do is copy it and put it into the same file so that you can easily compare. So again, this is the URL that Report Server or Report Manager uses in order to render the report. Notice that it's a little bit different. But you can use this, what really amounts to a shortcut notation, in order to add additional selections on this URL. All right, so we're still looking at the reseller cumulative sales, but I'm going to use an image format and specify JPEG. JPEG is also only going to render a single page. But the nice thing here is that I'm able to specify the start page and the end page. Again, it has to be the same page because they're only going to get one, but I'm going to start it on page 5 and end it on page 5. So I'm not limited using the URL to exporting only the first page. So I'm going to select that, copy it, and come back over here to Internet Explorer, open up a new tab, and paste in that image. And I really wish Internet Explorer had a paste and go. If you're with Microsoft and hear me, feel my pain, please. Hit Enter, and now I go directly to the export file. Do I want to save this? Once again, I'm going to save it rather than, if I get my mouse to work here, I'm going to save it to that junk folder. Now it's the JPEG image. Important point is that I don't have to change the rs-config file in order to make these other images available. They're available because the image rendering engine supports them, but I just need to specify that I want that image format. So that's what's different about this. I'll go back over here to Windows Explorer. Now I have a JPEG, and I'll explicitly open it up with that Windows Photo Viewer. Maximize it again. Yes, Windows, I know that I have new apps. I don't know what they are, but I don't care. Go away. Okay, so once again, I have this image. And what's interesting here, I'll continue on. And what's interesting here is that the paging buttons are active. So the JPEG image, even though it's really not a paged format, does have enough smarts so that the photo viewer is able to page through it. So this is actually a more useful format than it used to be in earlier versions of reporting services. So I'll go ahead and close the photo viewer here and come back over to Report Manager, because one of the things that I want to point out is this, on this new tab, is that the URL that's being used to export this JPEG image is the same URL. I pasted it into the address bar here, but it's the same URL that Report Manager uses to export the different formats. And so you can just use it directly. And the nice thing about this is that you can craft applications that will either include a static link, like what I pasted in the address bar, or you can build them dynamically based on selections that the user makes or restrictions that you want to put on the report for the user.